Welcome to Barbells and Motherhood. I'm your host, Julianne Bali, owner of Motherhood Barbell. I'm a pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach, CrossFit Level 1, and mom of 3. On this podcast, we discuss all things pre- and postnatal exercise, bust common myths such as don't lift over 20 pounds, educate about core and pelvic health, and explore all facets of motherhood. If you're a pregnant or postpartum mom that likes to throw around barbells, want to learn more about your pelvic floor and core, and looking for real research-based exercise guidance in any season of motherhood, this podcast is for you. All right, thank you for joining us for another episode of Barbells and Motherhood. Today I have my friend Robyn with me, who is a fellow pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach who does a lot of really good work in her community. And let's go ahead and just have you introduce yourself, Robyn, and your background and what you do.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here. So I am a registered massage therapist, as well as a CrossFit Level 2 coach and a pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach. I run a class currently out of my community in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. That is for moms during pregnancy or postpartum to come bring their babies. It's a strength and conditioning class with a focus on core, pelvic floor, and getting back into exercise postpartum. And I also just started coaching 1 day a week, a pregnancy class. That is kind of like a trial program right now. And it's a strength program for pregnant athletes that are looking for something to do during their pregnancy, because I found a group of women were just like, hey, there's no classes for pregnant specific athletes in our community, especially in the evening for those that work full time.
Yeah, so you're totally filling that need, filling that hole. That's awesome. I read up on your website a little bit about you, and that you were a CrossFit Games athlete, and that you became pregnant, and you noticed there was not a lot of information available for pregnant and postpartum athletes, and I'm sure, as you have seen, filling the need in your community for this population, that it's still like that, but we have a lot of more information now. And so my question for you is, what was your experience as a games athlete going into pregnancy and postpartum with the little information that you had? What did that look like?
Yeah, actually. So I came off of competing in 2017. I competed on team. So I've actually never done an individual competition besides the Open, if you count that.
Yeah.
But so I've been to the games on team, and in 2017 we competed at regionals, and we were one spot shy of qualifying to make it to the CrossFit Games. It was a very devastating finish, actually. But so after that, my husband and I were talking about starting to try to have a baby, and we were lucky the first time to get pregnant pretty quickly after coming off of a competitive season. And I remember not knowing what to do with my training. So as soon as I found I was pregnant, I was like, oh, I guess I probably should take it a little bit easy. But I didn't really know what that meant. I still was showing up on Saturday mornings to our competitor development program, competing with all of my old teammates and friends. And I remember there was handstand walking in the warm up. And one of my friends, who's like a fellow coach, he was like, hey, Rob, I don't know if you should be going upside down anymore. And that was kind of like the first I had really heard it. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I won't go upside down anymore. So then I just, instead of handstand walking, I did some push-ups in the warm-up. But that, he wasn't an experienced pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach himself, but he did have some knowledge in just err on the side of caution, I suppose. So after that, I started to actually feel really sick, and I was just confused on well, I'm not feeling good in my body. Am I supposed to keep training? What does listening to your body really mean? It was confusing for me because I was always used to pushing. Like as a competitive athlete, you push. You don't listen to pain. You don't listen to
Right.
when the signs of your body is telling you to stop. You keep going.
Mhm.
So I stumbled across the pregnant postpartum athlete, Brianna Battles, on the internet, and I was like, oh, okay, this messaging resonates with me. And so I approached my gym and I was like, how do you guys feel about me taking this course? And they were super supportive. And then, yeah, I took the pregnancy and postpartum athleticism course while I was pregnant with my first. So about halfway, 3/4 maybe through my pregnancy, I started the course and I finished it shortly after having him.
And so then while you were pregnant, were you, applying all the things that you were learning from the course, and were your eyes opened in the way that you were training during that pregnancy?
Yeah, actually. So at first, I had this goal where I wanted to try to do a strict muscle up every week for as long as I could through my pregnancy.
Oh my
I
gosh,
was
I
like, oh,
love
it's just like a gradual, like it's just like a gradual weight vest.
it.
And then I think I got to like, yeah, this is how little I knew at the time.
No
I think I
way.
got to like week 23 right of my pregnancy, and I'm like, I can't do a muscle up anymore. And then as I took the course, it's like, oh, well, of course you can't do a muscle up anymore. Like your core is changing, your body is expanding. Like it wasn't as simple as a weighted vest
Right. It was
doing
your
a muscle
whole
up. It was
entire body.
it, exactly. So I think at that moment I was like, okay, I need to apply some different approaches here. And then I did start slowly to become more aware, and like I after that I noticed some coning and I cut out like post to bar and kipping pull ups and things like that, and then switched to ring rows and slam balls and other things. And so I did start to um, apply that approach, but I was a stubborn athlete, so it took a while for me to really, yeah, really slow myself down.
Oh yeah, I think we hear that. That's a common story. I feel that, I don't know, a lot of us, I feel like, who, especially in the CrossFit world where we are competitive people, or some of us actually have competed like you have, we have this stubbornness of like, no, I need to be doing all these cool things and I need to show that I'm so amazing. And then we have this turning point of like athletic maturity of like, you know what? No, like this is a lifetime of athleticism, and this is just a season, you know.
And I agree with you there. And I actually think it took me until after having my baby to really to get to that point. Like because people throughout your pregnancy are like, oh, you're so badass, or like, look at you go, you're amazing, and giving you that encouragement to keep going. And so you're like, oh yeah, like that's like I am amazing. But I did start to like shift to just because I can do something doesn't mean I should, um, and risk versus reward of exercises, and that there are so many other modifications that you can do and things to work on through pregnancy. You don't need to keep pursuing what my path looked like when I was a competitive athlete. Like I'm in a different chapter, a different season of my life. So it took some time, but it definitely, yeah, the athletic maturity came a little bit towards the end of my pregnancy and into early postpartum.
How did that early postpartum, or that postpartum experience rather, look like for you returning to full sport after your first pregnancy? Having the knowledge that you had, was it hard for you to slow down, or did you want to go too quickly? What did that look like for you?
I actually I was ready to move. I think my brain was ready to move, but I purchased Brianna's 8 week postpartum program at the time because I needed something to follow, and it was great. It gave me some guidance, some structure, a little bit of that kind of like, okay, I'm gonna get a little sweat at the end of this workout, but focusing on the core and the breath um, and building a foundation back. I did think I was a little bit eager, and I had some really good friends and coaches at the gym when I did return after the 8 week program to be like, hey, you still just had a baby. Maybe you should modify and
Mm.
slow down. And we have scaling levels, like we call them level 3, level 2, and level 1 at my gym. So level 3 would be the most advanced, and level 1 would be more beginner. So I tried to just follow that progression and just like, okay, I'm going to go back into exercise like I am a beginner again. Like I'm relearning everything. So, with the advice of some other coaches, I stuck with that for the first little bit, and then slowly just use progressive overload and progressed over time, back into the sport. But I would say that the one thing that really set me back from getting back into the sport was that, I had a lot of incontinence with double unders, after my first pregnancy. And so that was like and lifting heavy overhead, were the two things that would cause the incontinence for myself. So I had to really dial back that part of my training, and okay, maybe I'm not going to add in double unders yet, or what's my threshold, and same with the lifting, like how can I breathe and brace and engage differently so that I'm not going to leak when I do that push jerk overhead, and that pressure, of going underneath the bar as I press it up was like causing me to leak a little bit. So that was that was definitely something that was a little bit of an eye opener.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yes, that is. I am the same way. I get to my threshold in jump rope, not so much now, but my previous postpartums, and then heavy overhead is mine too. It's just something about that heavy load overhead and the different pressures. Dude, we have a little baby joining us now. And so my next question for you is, as you progressed in your knowledge for the pre-postnatal world, and you've kept learning more, you eventually found the Female Athlete Level 1 course with Anthony Lowe. And so I'd love to hear your experience with that course, interacting with Anthony, and then also how that now has influenced how you approach your coaching, or even for yourself and your postpartum journeys, pregnancy and postpartum journeys.
Okay. So, before I took Anthony's course, I think I was a very conservative coach, where I think I unintentionally was holding myself and my athlete back, but more just so being cautious on what exercises I was giving. And, even for myself, like as soon as I experienced leaking, I was like, okay, something's wrong. I need to stop that altogether. Where after taking the Female Athlete Level 1 course with Anthony Lowe, it completely changed my approach on that. We are way more capable and adaptable. Sorry, he just had a little fall. We are more. Oh, yeah, okay. Look at the screen. Yeah. So after taking my level 1 course with Anthony Lowe, I realized that, that women are capable, adaptable, and I need to meet my athletes more so where they were at in their journey and what their goals were, as opposed to, and I think I knew that after taking the pregnancy and postpartum athleticism course as well, but I think I needed that refresher that, like, no, like we are capable, and what their goals are and where they're at is different than where I was at. So what I was experiencing with my postpartum symptoms wasn't what everyone else was experiencing with their postpartum symptoms, and that some athletes can get back to running sooner. They can get back to lifting heavy or competing, and then other athletes, that's not even on their radar. They just want a class where they can meet other moms and work out. And so it completely made me realize that women are adaptable and capable and strong, and that they can do basically anything they want. We just have to learn how to change up their strategy, change up their approach, do something different.
Do something different.
Do something different. Yeah, it was amazing. It was a life-changing course, and I have since actually over COVID took his master class, which was really good as well. And I got to meet some amazing people on that course.
I love that. Yeah, I had a very similar experience of it, opening my mind to Yeah, maybe we don't need to be so conservative. I love that you use the word conservative because that's I feel like how I was too. And also that our bodies can move in all sorts of different ways that may not be like the perfect form, whatever that looks like, that we have to be able to move our bodies in a variety of ways. Again, do something different. And so I'm sure that you use that all the time in your coaching now. And I think that that is, something important for us in the pre-postnatal world to also realize that research is still coming out. We are still learning about all of these things, and so it's important to continue to gain that education for all these things. And so now you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning that you do some classes in your gym. And so I want to ask, what is a common theme or need that you see among these moms that you're meeting with and helping each and every week?
So I think I noticed the need. The biggest theme that I noticed would be that the moms want connection.
Mm.
Like that moms are looking for. Did I lose you? Oh no,
Nope.
there you are. That the moms are looking for a place to connect with other moms, move their bodies, and basically have a support group. Like that's the biggest thing I've noticed in my class, in my community, anyways. And I think that might be coming out of the pandemic. That people just are looking for somewhere to go and meet other like-minded individuals, move their bodies a little bit, and build a community, especially the first-time mom.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's something that a lot of us probably wish that we had when we were brand new moms and we didn't know anything. And um, I think that would have been really beneficial for me to be able to have a group of moms that gets it, especially in like the CrossFit world or the strength and conditioning world, where we like, yeah, we want to get back to these things, or maybe some of them don't, but to at least have like-mindedness with that. I love that you serve your community in that way, and I'm really excited about your pregnancy class. That's really, really, really awesome. And that you can help instill that you can lift way more than 20 pounds during pregnancy. We can sort of break those myths. Do some of moms come to you with lots of questions about different myths or things that they've heard on the internet and ask you for like the real information or the clarification for those things?
I don't actually have a lot of like fear based or cautious people that come to my class. Like I seem
That's
like
good.
I get, I don't know, I get the ones that are just like too eager almost to get back right away. And I have to like reel them in
Yeah.
a little bit,
Uh,
but that's great, right? They're just like, okay, we're ready for
yeah.
class. But I do have like the odd person, like in my pregnancy class right now, like a lot of the moms, um, yeah, they haven't actually been given much advice at all, actually.
Mm.
So they haven't heard too much. Like they're just kind of in the dark on like what to do and what not to do. So I have been getting them to lift a little bit of weight and showing them that they are strong and just to move in different ways and keep their bodies moving during the pregnancy, and they seem really receptive. We do like about 15 minutes at the end of that class every time to go through some stretching and longer, deeper poses to like relax and get ready to lengthen the pelvic floor and prepare for
Mm-hmm.
birth in that regard, but also to answer any questions that they have. And their biggest, I think, the group I have right now, anyways, their biggest concern is just what birth is going to be like. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're not even worried about like what they're lifting or what they're doing. They're just like
Mm-hmm.
so honed in on on the final event. Uh,
Definitely can see that.
but I do love. I noticed like your posts have been on fire lately with just,
Why, thank you. Thank you.
just but like feeling that need about like, hey, like you can lift more than 20 pounds, like
Mhm.
what we've been told. Like, how are you supposed to pick up your toddler and continue on? Like life continues when you're pregnant, and women need to know that. So I am I am glad that we're all out there giving that same message, trying to say like, hey, you are stronger than you thought. You can keep moving. You can keep lifting. And you don't have to just go do prenatal yoga when you're pregnant. Like there is so much more for you. Like, what is it that you're interested in doing? Let's help you do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I know. I'm so grateful that we can all be these voices to help these moms to get the information they actually want and need. And then again, honoring these seasons, circling back to when you were talking about your first pregnancy and trying to do a muscle up every week, and like, the risk versus reward component, and help. I think, the biggest thing that we can do for moms is, yes, give them the information, and then also help them really honor the season that they're in, because there's going to be a lot of seasons in their athleticism, and pregnancy feels like forever, but it's really not, and it's just for now. And so I love that you were able to be that support for those moms, and postpartum as well, like bridging that gap between you're cleared and then what. I think that's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and also like my biggest goal right now is to try to bridge the gap between having a baby and getting cleared at the 6-week mark, 8-week mark,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that may be for individual. So a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm going to do nothing for 6 weeks, and then boom, I get cleared, and now I want to go back to doing what I was doing pre-pregnancy. But it's like, oh no, no, no! Like there's some stuff you can progressively start doing in the first 4 to 6 weeks. And then when you're at 6 weeks, it's not a green light to just get back to what you're doing, but now we're at the basic level of healing, and we're going to slowly progress you. So another thing I offer is an online return to exercise postpartum program. I actually have like a freebie, which is the first 4 weeks of postpartum prehab. Recovery, sorry, I should say. And then I have a postpartum rehab. That's a 4-week program that I'm putting out. And then I actually want to put out another one for moms that are want to get back into lifting, a postpartum rebuild, which is more about the barbell.
Yes, we love it. We love it so much. We want to help all the mamas get back to the barbell, or even get to the barbell for the first time. I think that is so important. All of the things we have to do as a mom, we need strength.
He's back.
He is so cute. Y'all can't see the video, but I'm looking at the cutest baby ever right now. Well, Robyn, thank you so much for sharing with me. Where can we find you online?
So online, I'm on Instagram at tyrannus.mom.strong. And then I also have a website, which is www.robynrainer.ca.
Perfect. And check out all of her programs. If you are local to her, go take one of her classes. It would be so fun. And then obviously she has her online resources as well. Thank you so much for joining me, Robyn.
Thank you for having me.